Yeah. All right, let it loose, sir. This is what you got.
Okay, so the other day, we've always, when I uh, talked with you guys, I told you that our biggest hole is our upgrades, and that's where we're losing the most money, but we all know that. And we started where we needed to start. And then you had a call with Master B. I wanted to shout out for him because he took the initiative to setting up the call without asking me to ask you to ask him to ask all that stuff. And you guys were on the line, I think, only for about 15 minutes. It answered
Okay.
his question about the upgrade. And then Friday we did a little role playing of that upgrade, and he collected his $1,000 and signed him up for 495 a month, and it was just no problem. So I just wanted to make sure victories all the way around on that because that's a real first for him.
Well, 495 a month, that's 6,000 a year plus 1,000, 7,000 for a year of training.
Yeah.
And
Or no, that's for Black Belt Club.
oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was compared to his norm our normal 299 down, I mean it's huge. So
Well,
there,
people don't
that's
know
his
what to
victory.
pay you until you ask. And I think that can be a bit of a challenge since a lot of us have not had the opportunity to figure out how to ask for more money. But the truth is, well, whatever your tuition rate is, whatever down payment you require, they're hearing it for the first time. So congratulations. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it really was. It was just,
Well,
yeah, it was worth the 15 minutes on the phone, I'll tell you that much. So thank you
well,
for straightening them up and whatever you told them, however you worked with them. I'm really thankful. Thanks.
he just got a vote of encouragement. All right, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Hey, Mondays are Q&A calls, and what is designed for those of you that are on our free service, the Warrior Success Systems, the green one. This is your opportunity to, after reviewing materials and perhaps downloading some of the stuff, ask whatever concerns or questions you have about implementation or maybe some of the challenges you're currently dealing with. But before we start, let me share with you something that happened this morning. If you don't know this, I'm the general manager of Grandmaster Bill Clark's organization in Florida. We operate 16 studios. And this morning we were having a conversation about upgrading and keeping people longer and what some of the challenges were. So anyway, while we're going through some of the concerns that some of our operators have, it dawned on me why we have such a challenge keeping people. And here's what came out of the meeting. Matter of fact, Master Likes, if you want to chime in, you're certainly welcome to do so. You were there for the call. But here's what came about. There are some sports and activities that become so important to a family, they become a almost like a lifelong purpose. I'll give you an example. I've recently stopped being a soccer dad. My daughter started playing soccer at the tender age of 4.5, 5 years old. And that was that weekend I went to Dick's Sporting Goods store and bought my little red wagon. I got the big thermos and the cooler and the umbrella and the folding chairs. And I've been a soccer dad for no less than 13 years. And what's interesting is that we very seldom have karate moms and dads or kung fu parents or members that start and decide to stay for a decade plus. And I'll tell you why. The difference between soccer and hockey and baseball and football and lacrosse and all these other sports that parents and families sometimes get involved with and they never ever quit is because they don't know there's a finish line. Think about that for a moment. When we enrolled my daughter into soccer for the first time, it was an amazing experience for her. We were very supportive, wonderful network of parents and dynamite coaches. And I just knew that soccer was going to be part of my daughter's life until she made the decision as an adult whether to continue practicing the sport of soccer or not. In other words, I recognized the impact it was going to have. And I sort of, from the very beginning, thought, well, we're a soccer family now. And later on, we became, in addition to soccer family, a lacrosse family. If you don't know anything about lacrosse, it's a dynamite sport. But my purpose of bringing this up is more often than not, our parents never get to find out or figure out, with your support, of course, that this can be a lifelong endeavor, that you can enroll a young person into martial arts and they become a martial artist for the rest of their natural lives. What's so interesting, and this was brought up in the training, typically when people get into their late 40s, early 50s, whatever level of self-care they have doesn't necessarily improve. And what's really cool about martial arts and other sports fall under this umbrella is that it becomes really important to you. You'll maintain a lifestyle of health and fitness and activity. Now, I think the same thing happens for my purpose of bringing that up was if you haven't developed that until you get to your 40s or 50s, the chances of that actually happening is slim to none. And that's why the average American, the average adult American north of the age, I think is 47, is morbidly obese, physically inactive, and just suffering from a health crisis. Now, what the heck does that have to do? Where are you going with this, Freddie? Well, let's go back to the idea of embracing martial arts as a lifestyle. The number one reason why families don't stick with you year in and year out is because they don't see it the same way they see soccer or baseball or football or some of these other sports and activities. They think there's an ending date. And I think that's our fault. I think the biggest misstep we have in our line of work is that we allow people to sign up not just for their reasons, but for no more of a reason than just an activity to keep them out of trouble. But if you do this game right, here's what happens. A parent finds out about martial arts and they go, you know what, I bet my kid would look cute in that pajamas. And they decide to enroll their kid. But they enroll their kid with this idea that's just a temporary activity. It's something to try. It's something that, hey, if he's interested, he'll stick. But I think that happens because we're not, I don't use the word ambitious. I use the word assertive. We're not assertive enough to change their mind about what this membership in our academy could actually mean. And I think in order to get people to find a greater meaning for enrolling their child and keeping them actively involved in the program, we have to give it to them. So often, you may have heard this from us. More often than not, a family will enroll for their reason and quit because their reason played out. For example, if a parent enrolls their kid to have a fun activity, well, that's going to play out pretty quick. Or if a parent enrolls their kid because they think it's the answer to get better grades, and whether it does or doesn't, if they realize that maybe that wasn't the answer, they quit. In other words, if we don't get really good at helping people embrace a bigger meaning or reason for enrolling martial arts, we're going to lose them as quickly as we enroll them. Then let me go back to the soccer thing. As I mentioned, I've been a soccer dad for 13, 14 years. But anyway, we got involved in soccer because of the people it attracted. We got involved in soccer because of the team spirit that we saw demonstrated on the soccer field. We got involved in soccer because we knew our child would learn how to be more cooperative and learn to play by the rules and be athletically challenged. And we were never let down. Each year got better. Each season got better. Each coach got better as we progressed. And that's why we were a soccer family. Now we got to make the same thing happen in martial arts. We got to make them a martial art family. And how do you do that? Well, it's real simple. You get better at enrolling people. Listen, folks will initially enroll for their reasons, but they'll stay for yours. So I think the enrollment process is really the answer if you want to keep people longer. This idea of providing discounts or specials or try it, if I like it, you can stay, or short-term courses sound like a great idea because it's such an easy way to introduce people to our martial art. But keeping students is almost impossible unless you get really good at enrolling people by allowing them to understand the future impact of this membership and making promises that they're confident you'll keep, which means we have to learn how to enroll people correctly, not just as a fun activity, not just as an entertaining program that a kid can do once or twice a week, but as a lifelong endeavor. And how do you do it? You set long-term ambitious goals. And the way these goals are accomplished, the way these goals are set up, is by upgrading students to a membership that's going to matter. One of the missteps that we've noticed that's happened in our industry is that for those of us who are thinking outside the box and are a little bit more aggressive with enrolling people, we sign them up with a deadline already in mind. I mean, heck, there isn't a single school out there that doesn't have something up the wall that represents the idea of being a black belt club, but where are the black belts? The truth is, if you just set a goal of black belt, the closer a student gets to that rank, the less likely they'll continue. We've learned that a student, the closer they get to a destination as far as rank accomplishment or a expiration date, the less likely they'll continue. And this is why enrolling people correctly with more reasons than what they thought they would address when they enroll through your enrollment process and upgrading students rapidly to a program that would take them beyond black belt. In Florida, we made the decision that our new presentation for upgrades is to set the goal to become a third degree black belt in our program. And to earn a third degree black belt in our program takes 72 months. You do the math on that. Now, it doesn't mean we're writing 72-month agreements, but we are having a meeting of the minds and agreement with parents that that is a worthy, that is an ambitious goal to become an advanced black belt. Because what we've uncovered is just setting the goal to black belt isn't enough. It's like just setting the goal to graduate from high school is not going to guarantee a college admission. So the longer out you can help parents make a decision to commit to a longer term outcome, not only will that improve your overall business and retention, it's going to really have a tremendous impact on the students you care for and be more meaningful in their lives. So all these sales tactics are designed not to just get people to pay money, but to get people to realize that martial arts can be a lifelong endeavor that can complement every area of their child, heck, of their lives. Because I think there are stages of commitment. The first stage of commitment in your membership typically is your trial offer, and that's when people find out about an activity. So write that down. The first level of engagement in your program is to join an activity. Try something different. Oh, we'll try that trial membership. Oh, we'll do karate for the summer. Oh, by the way, you all have any summer specials? So the first level is activity. And if you allow students, the families to enroll for an activity, they may not survive the first month of training. So we have to make it more ambitious than that, where we have to help them understand what they could get out of the program. And that brings them to the second level of commitment. In my mind, that's when somebody becomes what I call a hobbyist, where they're taking it more seriously. They've got all the stuff. They're sticking to a plan, to a schedule where they know every Tuesday and Thursday is Taekwondo time. But that's still not enough to keep them locked in. So now we go to the next level, which is a lifestyle. And to earn the position of being a martial artist where it's your lifestyle, you have to have long-term ambitious goals beyond the rank of black belt. Because how many times have you heard it? How many times have you heard this? A parent will come up to you and say, well, it looks like we're going to my child's going to earn his black belt this summer. And after he gets his black belt, we'll take a break, never to see them again. Come on, with a show of hands. How many times have you heard that conversation? Well, once we get our black belt, we're going to take a break. Man, it happens to everyone, and it happens that way because we allowed it to happen. We didn't change their mind about the impact of our membership and where we're going together. So one of the things you'll learn as we move forward is how to present a membership that's going to be more meaningful, how to present a membership that will encourage families, parents, to make a firm commitment, whether it's a verbal agreement or they signed on the line that is dotted. They're going to get their kid more deeply involved in the membership, or perhaps for themselves, where they're going to do martial arts for the rest of their lives. And that's the goal. And that's what the purpose is of our training, to help you realize how to best communicate your offer, how to best provide an experience where people will recognize the value of your offer and how to take action on it. So one of the things I'm going to leave you with before we open up the Q&A is you got to get better at helping people set long-term goals. And setting a goal doesn't always require a contractual arrangement, but setting a goal requires a meeting of the minds and an agreement of what we're going for together. And I guess I could testify to this. You may not know this, but I have two brothers, two sisters, and all of us came up through the ranks and earned black belts under Grandmaster Clark in Jacksonville, Florida. And we all earned our black belts under Grandmaster Clark for no other reason than my mother understood what I'm explaining to you now. Where if you want your kids to get the most out of the membership, you got to go for the biggest, boldest outcome. And I can remember when I was a kid, as a young teenager, 15, 16 years old, recognizing what rank I wanted to go after. And even as a high school student, I know I wanted to one day earn the prestigious rank of fourth degree black belt. That required just shy of 15 years of training. But when you got that belt, you got that black stripe down the pant leg in the organization I was a part of, and it just drove me. But meanwhile, most people, heck, they may not make it through summer because they don't have a compelling reason to stay. They haven't set a long-term goal. So the purpose of setting long-term goals and getting a student to dial into the idea of a more advanced rank isn't just about getting more money from them, but helping them earn a greater understanding of why it's so important to be involved in your membership and why, despite whatever challenges you may run into, not to give up, not to surrender, but to keep towing the line until you accomplish the said rank. So let's wrap it up by saying this. You want to keep your students? Ask, why are they there? Are they there for their reason, or are they in agreement with your reason? And that's become an advanced black belt in your organization. Great. Well, let's open the line for questions. Roman, lead the charge. One of the questions that was asked earlier today that came across my line was, why are you collecting that last month? Now, if you've heard this, hang in here before. One of the things we do is that when we enroll people, we have an initial investment that's a portion of the overall tuition you pay to get started. We typically leverage a savings against that as an incentive to roll them on their first day in your academy. When we do that successfully, we go ahead and tell them to start the training. You need to pay your first and last month's tuition. Well, we do that for three reasons. Reason number one is we need more money. One of the things that all of us need is to generate more income, and by asking for the last month, you'll get it. The second reason is this: the more money somebody pays at the start of their program, the longer they stay. Just pretend you believe that. But the third reason, too, is to increase the likelihood that even if somebody has a little shadow of a doubt that they should enroll and stick with this membership, we crack the back door open. We collect the last month's tuition because in order to cancel your membership, you just have to give us a 30-day notice. And since you've already paid that tuition, all you have to do is let us know it's no longer a perfect fit. But by asking for the balance of the initial investment I mentioned and your first and last month's tuition, you will in fact enroll more people. Now, let me give you three reasons why. Number one is this: if you want to help somebody determine the real value of a membership, ask for more money than what they expected. And I guarantee if you ask for a balance of an initial investment and the first and last month's tuition, most of you will be asking well north of $500 on the day they enroll. Second, as I mentioned, the more money they pay now, the longer they stay. But there is something else too. We can apply those monies to a higher level commitment, a higher level membership. But the third reason why we need to ask for that money is so we stop making a big deal about the money. One of the hardest parts of the trainings we do is that when we encourage you to ask for more money, and the reason why it's so clumsy and awkward and not very much fun initially is because we just simply aren't practiced at it. But what's interesting is that there is a direct correlation between how much you ask for and how much shows up. And for those of you on this call that have done some great things, like you've increased your tuition or you increased your level of commitment, and because you're asking for more money, things are changing rapidly, well, congratulations. So by asking for more money, by asking for the balanced initial investment, first and last month's tuition on every single membership you sell from this point forward, things will rapidly improve. Because I tell you, in this line of work, you cannot discount your way to success. Being the cheapest doesn't make you the best. Being the cheapest attracts a clientele that, quite frankly, I'm generalizing now, quite frankly, will not fully appreciate the great works that you do. All right, so I see a question. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Master Fred, can you give examples of common goals that you experience from students? Rick, go ahead and unmute yourself, sir. Let's talk. Is he still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. All right. So would you reshape your question? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
so you were mentioning setting goals. And one of the things I love about the group here is that I get a lot of information that I just didn't think about. So I was wondering if you could give us some examples of those goals that throughout your experience, when you say, what are your goals for this? What are some of the very common ones that you've come across? Some of the things we can use to talk to people on helping them set their goals. Because sometimes people walk in there like they don't know what they want other than to train martial arts for, I don't know, self-defense, and that's the only answer they got.
Okay.
What are some of the common goals that you've reached throughout?
I'm going to give you two answers. The first answer is this. Most people don't know everything they could accomplish in martial arts. So one of the things you need to learn how to do when you're communicating the value of your membership is prime the pump. Like, for example, Mrs. Lewis, hey, 52 years teaching families martial arts right here in Jacksonville has taught us that there are 4 areas of personal development that parents are concerned with for their children. Hell, most parents want to participate themselves, and they are confidence, self-defense, self-discipline, and of course, great health and fitness. So to help me help you recognize how our program could help, let's prioritize these reasons. So this way, I can show you in our first lesson how we'll accomplish this together. Okay? So I'm going to get them to actually mark off in an order of priorities these additional goals they may never have thought of. So that's number one. But there's even a bigger goal, and that is running the goals you have with your students with the goals they already have in mind. And when you're talking about kids or you're enrolling children, my go-to is always blend the goal in with their studies, in with their school. For example, let's say we have an elementary student, he's in second grade, well, he's 7, 8 years old, right? By the time he gets into middle school, that's what we call it out here, he'll be a young teenager, 12, 13. I'm going to tie the goal into that. Mrs. Lewis, there's 2 things we're going to accomplish. We're going to make certain your child earns the rank of black belt just in time. So when he enters middle school, he's going to have a different experience than most. So sometimes just setting a goal by itself doesn't have much meaning. But if you can dial in a goal you have with a student with something they're already involved in with children, it should be what? Parallel with their studies. If you dial that in, now it begins to make more sense. Like every family knows that the likelihood of their child being exposed to negative peer pressure or perhaps being bullied or abused at some degree is going to happen. I mean, it just happens in life. How can we best prepare a kid? Well, we know that martial arts can address that, but in order to get more people to commit to longer term goals, dial in the outcome that would reflect success in your membership with an outcome that they're trying to accomplish as a family. So if the kid's in kindergarten, let's get them ready for elementary school. If the kid's in elementary school, let's get them ready for middle school or high school. Or if they're already a middle schooler, on to college. If you can tie a goal in with a timeline that they're already familiar and closely related to, more people will understand why they should sign off on that membership. So you tell me, what are you taking from that, Mr. Silver?
A lot of things. A lot of things. I like how you mentioned trying to tie it into a lot of the other life goals that people have, and showing how what we've achieved through our martial arts program will help them achieve these outside goals as well.
Yeah.
I was curious because when you were talking about setting the goals for the long term, like how do we align that? And that's a great answer to that.
Yeah.
Find out what are their outside goals as well, and how what we're doing is going to help them reach those goals as well.
Right. Yeah. So, and that again, now what we're talking about is how can you impress upon a family the importance of long-term commitment based on the outcome they want? Well, the only way you can do it is through formal presentations, meet of the minds, a conversation where they understand the potential impact your membership could have. But remember, people enroll for their reasons. And if we don't change that reason, they quit. I mean, what are the 3, Ms. Silver, hang in here with me, okay? What do you think are the 3 worst reasons to enroll a kid long-term? And whatever you tell me is okay. I'm just asking what you think. The 3 worst reasons.
Worst reason? Because their friend's doing it.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. So maybe we got 4 now. Hey, write them down. Ready, guys? Here's a mine. If you enroll kids for fun, fitness, and self-defense, you'll enroll less kids than me. Fun. When does it wear out? Hell, sometimes it doesn't begin. Fitness. Well, most people, particularly at an early stage of martial arts, it's not about physical fitness, it's more about mental strength. And as far as self-defense, it doesn't take weeks to learn how to protect yourself. In many cases, it takes years of knowledge and know-how and being aware. But most martial arts studios, that's what they talk about, fun, fitness, and self-defense, and they wonder why they can't keep them as long as they would like. You got to give them bigger reasons. Reasons to become a better person, reason to prepare for life, bigger, bolder, better reasons. And the reasons you give them, they need to be under the same umbrella, and that is to earn a more advanced degree of black belt. Stop talking about first degree. We're changing the language in Florida. Our black belt program is designed to help your child accomplish rank at 3rd degree black belt. That's our expert level. It takes years of dedicated training. We're just telling them like it is. And I think if we do that, some things that unfortunately do happen, and that is people drop out quickly, it'll slow that down. See, it's the reason you're involved that gets you to show up time and time again. Give them big, bold reasons. And as you learn how to have the appropriate conversation to allow parents to get a glimpse in their imagination, the impact your program could have on their kid in the future, well, you'll sign them all up. Thank you, Mr. Silver. All
Well,
right,
let me,
I'm
this actually want to being very relative. Literally right before our call, I just signed up a 14-year-old and his mom for a trial class. And the reason they gave was for self-defense. So now you got me going. And of course, you know me, I'm a personal defense school. So yeah, great. I could do that. But you're right. What do I do once they feel they melt self-defense? So now I'm thinking I'm going to have to meld them into a whole new long-term goal.
okay. Are you ready? Let me go with this just for a second. Okay. Mr. Silver, I want you to think of the color blue. Do you have it in your head? All right. What's the likelihood, and I'm picturing my color blue too. What's the likelihood of you and I thinking of the same color blue? So what's your color blue called?
Slim to none.
So what's your color blue called?
I'm thinking sky blue.
Oh, I'm thinking electric blue. Now they're both blues, but they're
Mhm.
not the same color. If you bring a can of your sky blue and I bring a can of my electric blue and we paint the house, it's going to look pretty silly. So one of the things you got to realize too is that just because somebody says something that you're familiar with doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. So when people say things like, "I want my kid to learn self-defense," ask questions. Well, what specifically do you mean about self-defense? Well, what do you mean? Like physically defend himself or defend himself against negative thoughts and ideas or defend himself against negative peer pressure? What type of defense are we most concerned with? I just changed that lady's mind about who I am. You know, she's thinking self-defense in most cases about put them up, put them up. I want to physically defend myself. But the chances of a kid having to defend himself is quite slim compared to being exposed to negative peer pressure. So all you have to do is realize that just because they say it doesn't mean you understand it. You know, so when somebody says self-defense, you got to dig a little bit deeper. And this is all part of our sales training. Well, Mrs. Lewis, if your child did possess the ability to defend himself, what will be different? What will he be protected against? And listen to their answers. You're going to realize, oh, that's just a small inclination of what self-defense really means. See, our power to communicate benefit determines if people will or won't enroll. Thank you, sir. Congratulations on that. All right, let me go to the next question. Here we go. I've lost track, Roman. What was the next question?
From Kyle, what is your rebuttal to prospects that come in and say ABC martial arts school down the street is $150 a month and we can train there every day?
This just happened to me Thursday. I was filling in at the Bay Meadows location in Jacksonville, and the Patel family came in. And man, I knocked it over the fence. My greeting was spectacular. I even had mommy bound at the front door shouting, "Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am." I mean, I rocked it. The tour was dynamite. They understood the progress checks and how to earn rank. They understand how safety minded we are with the mat and the equipment. They met some of the assistant instructors that help out. It went brilliantly. We sat down together and I knocked it over the fence as far as the PA. Miss Lewis, what do you really want for your child? I mean, I killed it. I crushed it. Then it came time for my physical workout. You know, the three areas of training martial arts: physically, mentally, and psychology and physiology, not physiology. I'm drawing a blank here. Uh, Philosophical. So anyway, I teach the intro, then we sit down. Before we do that, I tell little Akash to give his mommy and daddy a big hug and a kiss for signing up for martial arts. Sat down and did my presentation, baby. The whole time I was pleasing myself. And then it happened. The gentleman said, "But it's so much cheaper down the street. Why are you so expensive?" I thought, ay, because I did the price drop and he didn't flinch. And I came back and I said, "Well, when you say expensive, what exactly are you referring to?" And he said, "Well, the guy down the street," and the guy down the street used to be loosely affiliated with our group years ago. It was only charging X, was considerable less. My tuition rate was $249. This one was like $159, and they could come every day. And he said, "Why is it so expensive?" And I said this. I said, "Mr. Patel, it would be unfair for me to comment since I don't understand their operation or how they do things. All I can tell you is who and what we are. And I am confident that you have found the right martial art academy. But if price is your only concern, consider this. Price is what you pay, value is what you get, and I'm certain that you would be in agreement that typically something that is more valuable happens to be more expensive. And he sat and he thought and did this and that. And he said he wanted to go down, check it out. So I did my fallback. Where do you think I went? I'll tell you where I went. I did my 14-day satisfaction guarantee. I said, sir, but when these situations come up, where their family is uncertain whether or not they found the right martial art academy, we want you to make certain that you did. And here's what we'll do. Let's go ahead and take full advantage of the savings. I saved them $350. We have a $550 down payment. I saved them $350 if you roll today. But anyway, so to ensure your savings, here's what we'll do. Let's go ahead and enroll. And I'm going to put in writing my 14-day satisfaction guarantee. Over the next 2 weeks, if for any reason you think it was a misstep, I will refund your monies and cancel your agreement. That's fair enough, isn't it? Make a long story short, the guy enrolled. But I did not say anything negative about the guy down the street. I didn't make any comment about the guy down the street. I just told him it would be unfair for me to comment because I'm not sure what they do, but I know what we do. And what we just saw together, there's no doubt in my mind you found the right martial art academy. So let's do this. Let's take advantage of the savings, get enrolled, and over the next 2 weeks, after 4 classes, if you're not convinced you found the right martial art academy, I'll shred this agreement. I'll refund 100% of your money. That's fair enough, isn't it? So now we have the challenge to make sure these next 4 classes, they show up. So we're going to confirm them the day before and the day of, and we're going to make certain each time they do come to class, we fulfill our promise and provide the highest level of training possible. So that's what we do, Kyle. But listen, don't ever say anything negative about anybody, even if they made the newspaper because they turned out to be some creepy cats. Don't make mention of it. Listen, we have an entire industry to protect. And one of the ways you can protect your industry is don't worry about the guy down the street. Worry about in-house disservice and being poorly prepared to do your absolute best each and every day. But one of the things that you can often find out, though, Kyle, is that when you first meet this person, if you look at the original dialogue, we'll ask, well, Mr. Lewis, how long have you been thinking about martial arts for your kid? Typically, when you ask that question, they will tell you how long, and typically they'll provide the information as far as who they've checked out or what else they might be doing. Or you can ask, is this the first martial arts school you've ever visited? Well, actually, this is the second one. I went down to, just be cool about it. The worst thing you can do is say negative about the competition. The more worser thing you could do is say anything negative about anyone else in this business. It's just not good for anybody. Hope that helped, Kyle. All right, go ahead, sir. What do you got next?
That's the only other question in the chat. Anyone who's watching have anything? You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
I have a question I could throw out there of a situation I just ran into. Maybe you guys can give me some advice.
Go ahead.
So I'm teaching out of a dance studio. I'm still very, very small.
Okay.
Even though I have years of experience, but that don't mean crap. That's why I'm coming to you guys. One of the local karate places that's been around for maybe 30 years in my area moved locations. Where did they move? Literally right next to my dance studio that I'm teaching out of. So now when people turn in, they're going to see their sign. If I put little street signs by me, that's probably going to feed their school, not me. So I have that unique challenge. I'm basically telling my trial people, I'm not that karate place. I'm the dance studio. Make sure you go to the right one. But that's offering a unique challenge now in my current location. And I was wondering if anybody had similar experiences. I mean, this guy's literally right next door. We're not even talking about across the street. It's like McDonald's, Burger King right next to each other.
Yeah.
How would you handle this situation yourself? I've got some ideas.
I'm going to share a couple of stories. What's interesting is that we have a couple of strip centers in Florida where in the same strip center, there's another martial art type. There's Taekwondo at one end, Jiu-Jitsu in the other, but the landlord gets away with it because obviously they're 2 different services, or so they say. So what you're explaining is not that uncommon. But the way you address that isn't by putting on the brass knuckles and going to war, but going back and redefining your goals, your ambition, what you want to accomplish. Listen, I can't control the outside competition, but I can control what's going on inside my head and what I'm willing to do. So maybe what you should do in this situation, if you're in this arrangement where you got to stay, is reassess your goals and decide what it is you want to accomplish from your business, your offering. So follow me on this, William. What is it that you want from your business?
I guess I'd have to go back to what my mission goal is, to help empower individuals through the martial arts.
Well,
That's my
that sounds really nice, but what does it mean? What's the credible evidence that that will happen?
I link all my personal defense stuff that I've done throughout my life into my martial arts training. So we really are 100% a defense school, first and foremost, I guess. Is that answering properly?
Yeah, well, I'm not getting the answer I was hoping for. In other words, change it to business. Don't change it to the idea of the impact you want to make for people in martial arts. Let's shift back to business. Because now what
Right,
we're talking about is having a competitor move next door.
right.
So what is it that you want from your business?
I guess the end goal, what I'm making for my business is I want to be able to work about 6 hours a week and be able to make livable money doing something I enjoy.
That's a little
So,
bit. All right, so be more specific.
so from the things that I've learned from you guys, I mean, I've changed a lot of my mindset. I only do 2 classes a day now, 3 days a week. I'm
Yeah, hey, listen,
convinced.
I'm not asking what you do. I'm asking what you want. What do you want? What do you want from your business?
Make at least 60,000 a year.
Great. Okay, so let's
There
stop
you
right
go.
there. Like, stop right there. I'm cool. Now, see,
Oh,
that's something I can measure. Something I can measure. So if you want to generate $50,000 a year, what would you have to generate each month? And to generate that each month, what would have to happen? See, I think one of the challenges we have in martial arts is that we sometimes wave the banner of the for the wrong victory. You know, number of students, square footage of the location, number of years training. I think we got to boil it down to what do you really want for your business? Now, what you just said to me is like, poof, that's an easy one. To earn 50 grand in a club, I don't think is that big of a deal. So let's break it down. Let's take 50,000 and divide it by 12. What's the income?
so I got math in my head, but I'm going to say, what is that, about 4,000 a month?
Uh,
Anybody verify that with me?
that'd be 48. So a little north of 4,000. Okay, so you need to make
Yeah,
1,000 a week.
yeah. Let's
So
call it 5,000. Let's call it 5,000 a month.
okay. All right. All right. So that being said, you want to make 60,000
Yeah,
a year.
there you go.
Focus your energy in that. You know, there could be a family that would pay you that. It's not unheard of. Matter of fact, we have a guy on the call today that mentioned a couple weeks ago. He enrolled a family for either 31 or $37,000. I mean, a single family enrolled and cut a check. I think it was 37,000. If you're on the call, correct me if I'm mistaken. You realize that's half the income you hope to enjoy. So focus on the money, focus on the business, focus on the membership. You know, I was challenged by a guy one time in a seminar. He said, "All right, Mertens, explain the perfect karate school." I said, "Well, okay, here it is. Ready? Now we're talking about a karate school that provides you with a lifestyle. So, okay, here it is. It's about 1,000 square feet, is beautifully appointed. It's even got marble floors and a fancy bathroom with a private shower, a sauna, steam, a little square mat, maybe 600 square feet of training area, and you got one student. And every January 15th, he pays you $1 million for that year of training. That is the perfect studio. If all you want is freedom and money, and that's what we all want, right? So just reshape what you want from your business and you won't deal with any frustration. There's competition in any industry. Look at the consulting business, man. There's a ton of folks doing that. Look at the ad agencies, man. There's one popping up every week. And the reason why these businesses come and go is because the people that are in charge or run the game, they don't know what they really want for the business. But to be in business means you got to be for profit. You're not a nonprofit. So start with the end in mind. So if you want to earn $60,000 a year, all your decisions are based on earning $60,000 a year. And we can break it down for you. We can help you, create a little day in and day out business plan. But start with the end in mind, because the truth is, if you are not interested in making money, well, you can teach it the part. If you're not interested in making money, you can just do it for donations. But if you want to build a business and be divorced from all the noise that's out there in the form of competition and other offerings and other programs and time of year and all that shenanigans, Simply decide what you want from your business and stay hyper focused on that. But I'll give you a vote of confidence. We have a couple of ladies who teach part-time that earn over $100,000 a year. But if you were to ask them what their secret is, they might explain what I just shared with you. And that is they know who they are. They know who they want to help. They know how they want to help who they want to help. And they support it with a marketing business plan. It really is that simple. This idea that the competition can push us in the opposite direction of where we want to go, get that out of your head. Starbucks doesn't worry about Caribou Coffee. Rayleigh's grocery store doesn't worry about Safeway. Weiji Bongo don't worry about Kung Fu. All you have to do is stay steady on what it is that you want to create, who you want to help, and how you want to be compensated, and all the answers will pop up. I hope that helps, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, great. So any other questions pop up? Roman?
Yeah. Eric Siley asked, in each of these meetings, we've discussed the importance of charging premium rates. Are there any recent examples of schools who have embraced this and have results to share? I said, yeah, we have several.
Yeah, I can give examples. Does anybody want to chime in?
Joe, go ahead, ma'am. Melinda, do you know what your rates were and are? No, she doesn't. Okay, well, I know
here we
you
go.
increased tuition significantly.
Okay, I'm gonna answer this question. I see Ken. Ken just waved. Ken, you want to share? I've got a couple of directions I can go with this. You're muted, sir.
Yeah, so my base is gone up $50, and my 3+ times a week has gone up like $75, $80. My package, the starter package, has gone from $99 to $225. My down payment has gone from $99 to $299, and I haven't had anybody flinch. I had one I think I talked to you about. They were trying to negotiate, and so I just stood up, shook their hand, helped them stand up, and basically said, looks like we're not the right school for you at this time, but the door's always welcome. So I would say the last 8, 9 people, like last Thursday, 2 people, down payment was $1,100, and they signed up at $249 each a month. So
That's
yes.
fantastic.
I think the biggest challenge about changing price is that we're asking the wrong question. Okay, I'm gonna go here just for a second. A lot of us think, well, what will they pay? Heck, I don't know. So that's the wrong question. So the question is, what will my community pay? Well, that's the wrong question. A better question is, what am I willing to do to be worth that? Like, for example, in many cases, the difference between charging $149 and $249 a month is the question, what am I willing to do for that? Sometimes the answer is easy as, well, I'll just ask for it. So if you want to make some adjustments in your tuition structure, or what memberships you sell, or how quickly you collect, you got to ask the question. It's not about them, it's about you. What am I willing to do? What am I willing to do to charge a premium? And in most cases, the only thing you have to do to charge a premium isn't to modify your curriculum or buy new, more expensive mats, but change on how you present your membership. You said something interesting, Ken. You said you did this rate increase and nobody flinched. I think that's kind of funny, but you expect them to go, whoa, $249. Nobody flinches. Unless you come across as being insincere, unless you come across with a less professional, less polished presentation. But the truth is, if you want to charge more money, but just be willing to do more for it. And sometimes that willingness to do more is what holds you back. And what you need to do more of is be able to communicate the value of your membership, to have conversations that actually help people recognize the impact you could potentially have on their student or their entire family. That's the secret to charging more money. It's not adding another program, it's becoming better at communication. I'll give you an example, and Master Pesci, I'll call you in on this one. When we first met some 11 plus years ago, you were teaching everything under the sun. You had all kinds of stuff going on. But once you decided who it is you wanted to help, you reduced what you offered and you increased your prices significantly. Tell the audience what happened.
Well, we were able to reduce the workload and make more money. I mean, our last rate increase, we increased our tuition by 25%, and our enrollments didn't slow down.
And so it's not about what will they do, what will they pay. It's about you. What are you willing to do? And the cool thing about charging more money, or at least having the courage to ask for premium tuition, is that you're going to find out you can do a hell of a lot less. You can actually do less. This idea of discount, I'm going back to discounts. This idea of discounting your way to success sounds like a good idea until you run it for a couple of years. People who pay more pay more. People who pay more pay longer. And people who pay more actually refer other people who will, in fact, pay more. So, in terms of adjusting your tuition, my recommendation is go up at least 25%. And once you feel better about that, go up another 25%. We have students in Jacksonville paying a tuition rate of $399 a month. That's unheard of in most communities. And is our martial art that much better? Well, it might be, but I'd tell you what's really good is the communication that we leverage to help people understand the value and the impact of our membership and the courage to ask for it. If they're unable to pay, well, we got plans for that too, where perhaps we can do what's called a fallback, where you offer them a lesser membership that still supports the goals they have in mind. All right, I saw a couple of questions pop up. Roman, go ahead.
All right, let's see. Can we define premium rate by Rich Silver?
Helping you hit your financial goals with less effort. But if you feel like you got to find out what the community is paying, do some secret shopping, and watch how people talk about their tuition. I do what I call jerky calls, where I'll demonstrate how poor your competition is on the phone. I'll call Karate School, and I'll always ask for price. And it's so pathetic that half the time when you're very, very straightforward and deliberate about the price, well, sir, in order for me to come down, I need to know the tuition. Please explain your tuition rates. They explain it with this tonality of like they're apologizing. The truth is, if you got to apologize for your tuition, you're scamming. But if you decide you're going to fulfill every promise you make, why not be the most expensive tuition in your community and watch what happens? There are other businesses that are charging so much more than ours. They're in the same realm, membership-based businesses. Cheerleading. Have we got any people in Texas on the call? What's really big in Texas right now are cheerleading academies. If you're on a competition cheer team, you're spending close to $1,000 a month. It's incredible. So a lot of businesses that are providing the support that parents need to help keep their kids on a straight and narrow and keep them active, out of trouble, help them acquire some skills that will be useful in the future. They're all charging big bucks. You just got to be willing to ask for it.
And sometimes people are afraid to increase their tuition. Well, the school we took over in Elk Grove, I was very disappointed because the basic rate was $159 and the upgrade rate was $179, so it's a $20 difference. We immediately changed it to basic at $249, so it's a $90 increase, and black belt training at $299. And it's funny because the guy who was there and couldn't make it work goes, man, how come you guys have all these students now? And it's the same space. It's literally the same building, the same address, the same everything. But what changed was the presentation, and what changed was the schedule. We reduced it, not expanded it. And what changed was we went to, I guess you'd call it a more premium pricing. We went to a better pricing structure, and we attracted a different clientele. So same building, because a lot of times I think we get stuck in this mindset of, well, my people won't pay that. Okay, well, there's people in your neighborhood that will. So let's start doing things differently moving forward at the minimum.
And that's something else too. I think sometimes clutters the concern about upgrading tuition. So let me put this to rest. Do not change the terms on your current membership. An increase in tuition should not affect your current student body. The only time you should increase the tuition on your current student body if they agree to a higher level program. But this idea, I can't change my pricing because my people are paying X, well, keep them paying X forever or until it's time for them to upgrade their trainings. But we're talking about new people. And I said this earlier in the call, most people have no idea, or the idea they have about pricing isn't congruent with the value you serve. I mean, think about it for a moment. And the next time somebody says, oh, I didn't expect it to be that much, ask a question. Well, Mrs. Lewis, what did you expect to invest to help your child gain the confidence you want for him? And then they'll realize, oh, I didn't think of it that way. And they didn't think of it that way because whatever investigation they did, the person that gave them the information did simply that, gave them the information. See, stop being an information giver and become an information getter and how you can serve people, how you can help people, helping people figure out what they really want from this relationship, they want from your program. And that by itself will certainly change their mind about how valuable you are and what your tuition rate should be. But if you ever run into that situation where people think you should be cheap, you just got to change their mind by taking them through a process to help them recognize and understand the impact your membership would have. And the greater the impact, the less money matters.
Mhm.
Very
Excellent.
good.
All right. Well, heck, let's do some takeaways. Dalton, it's great to see you on the call, sir. What are you taking away from this?
Sorry,
It's okay.
going through all my is that the short-term goals aren't the best, and you're looking to get them to look towards long-term future goals.
Mhm.
And that even black belt is still too, like, first degree black belt is still too short of a goal.
Mhm. Yeah, I could not agree anymore. I mean, getting your first degree black belt's like graduating high school. It's a big deal, but it's kind of expected. What are we really going to do? Right? What are you going to do with your life in martial arts? So I think, having a long, I look at martial art training, it's a marathon, not a race. My first goal is to get you on a program that will allow you to reach first degree black belt because that is the starting line. And if we can't at least get you to there, what are we even doing here? Right? Nobody has aspirations to be an amazing yellow belt or green belt. They start martial arts to hope and wish that even if they don't say it out loud, their goal is to become a black belt. Let's help them bring that into reality. So yeah, absolutely. You got to think long term. We got to build something. Melinda, how about you, ma'am?
I think my takeaway is really thinking about the impact of the membership that's more meaningful beyond the black belt and just as a lifestyle. And really, it's not like you're selling it or feeling like it's just really standing behind what we're offering and the value. And
Absolutely.
people won't flinch at all for
And
pricing.
what is your current tuition? Do you remember? Do you know?
Yeah, sorry, it was a fly earlier. When our current tuition right now is $199 for the basic.
Basic.
We have a +1 for a family is at $350.
Beautiful.
So we've had a couple of those, but right now it's set at $199
Okay.
for two times a week basic membership.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Master Silver, what are we taking away today?
That pricing is really based more on what your long-term goals are. When I was asking about what's the meaning, what is a premium price, and the answer is, well, what is your goals? Set your pricing accordingly.
Everyone,
So
yeah, you're absolutely right. Everyone wants to see what everybody else is charging, and I don't want to charge too much. I don't want to charge. I hope I'm the most expensive guy in town. I really do, because I feel like we are the best at what we do. And I know that I don't buy cheap crap, and I want to attract people that are like me. And that's a big thing too. I want to walk into the academy and enjoy the people that we're attracting. I want my people. I don't want to go service a bunch of low life, bargain basement, cheap people. So that does not bring me, I don't like it. And so I want to charge more for no other reason to attract a better clientele. But like you just mentioned, I want my passion to support my lifestyle. Something Master Mertens and I, duplicated a long time ago is the idea that we want to alphatize your business, make it easy, lucrative, and fun. And what does that mean? Well, it means I'm gonna work a lot less, but I'm gonna make more because I'm gonna deliver more value than ever. It's not just getting the money. You do have to deliver on every promise you make, but it does not take 36 classes a week to do that. But that's how most of us were trained in this business because, it was just a different mindset. Master Siley, how about you, sir? What are you taking away today?
Oh, sorry about that. It kind of reinforces my, I'm making changes to my enrollment process and my trial program, and it really resonates, giving them the big reason. I think I've been selling the wrong benefits, more short-term benefits. So I need to include more explicitly black belt, especially with the kids.
Especially with the parents too, though, because remember, the parents are the client, the kid is the user, and my goal is to make the client a user also, because that's when the membership really sticks and stays. I mean, our average membership is north of 24 months, and in most martial art karate academies, it's 3 to 6 months. And people go, "Oh, not my people." Go back and look at the records. For most people, that's true. Anyway, my point is though, I want it to be a lifestyle. So it's not about what the kid gets to do. Instead, I'm going to have a conversation with the parent about what that child gets to become. And that changes everything, everything. Even in our upgrade conversation, we get into rapport, we investigate the experience they've had so far. And then one of the most important pieces is to now oh gosh, now I just drew a blank. Investigate the experience, seek desired results. Mrs. Smith, how old is your kid? He's 6. Is he in first grade, right? Yes, yes, yes. Let's talk about what you've seen so far, and what do you think that will look like when he is in fourth grade? When Rainan here is a fourth grader, what would you like to see better in him? And now they're projecting into the future. That's why our program becomes so valuable. It's not they get to run, jump, kick, block, chop, and yell. That the kid wants to do that, sure. But it's the client, the mommy, that has to pay for it. And so it's got to be bigger than that. Because truth is, he could go do that at the park. He could do it watching a YouTube video. I mean, he could do it it's romper room, if that's all it is. But if we provide real structure and real teaching and real discipline and lessons, not just workouts, but lessons on what this child gets to become, then the price goes, the value skyrockets. So yeah, absolutely. Master Ken, Master Weingartner, what are we taking away today?
Just keep pushing forward. Keep doing it. That's
Yes,
it.
sir.
That's it.
Yes. Okay. All right. I like it. Hey, let me know when you want to set up a meeting with your daughter. I think that would be fantastic, but not until you're ready. Okay.
Yeah. Probably she's going away for a week in June. So after that.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Excellent. Master Likes, anything you want to add to this?
Outstanding presentation by both of you gentlemen, as always. But to add to what Mr. Merton said, the key to retention he spoke about earlier today in our training with Master Clark is to invite him to a higher level of commitment, a higher level of status. That's the key to retention. And to go from being an activity to being a lifestyle. That's how we're going to keep our students.
Absolutely. And the shortcut to that is get mom involved. I want every lady in the building to have her 2 or 3 best friends here. When I was out in Elk Grove last Thursday, there was 3 or maybe 4 moms that were outside chatting it up after class for like 20 minutes. Now, the best part is 2 of them were in their uniforms. So guess what? We're going to this week. Our goal is to get the other 2 in uniforms. Hey, they need more training partners out there. Let me gift you a uniform. I know Mother's Day is a couple weeks ago, but what the heck? Let's do it. Right? Mom involved doubles the value of the membership, but more importantly, quadruples or whatever the next number is after that, the duration, which further, I guess, boosts the value too. Right? You can look up, most of you guys have software, you can look and see what a family has paid you. And that's a fledgling school. And already we have parents that are approaching the $20,000 mark. So, you want to make real money, you got to give them big reasons. And to get big reasons, you got to get more people involved, i.e. the parents. So Master Merchants?
Yeah, well, let's add one more thing, and that is Master Pesky mentioned this a few moments ago. There are three parties involved in this martial relationship. There's you and your staff, the instructors. There's the student, typically it's a child, and then there's the parent. Now let's talk about the parent and the kid. The kid is the customer. The kid is the one who shows up and does the classes. But the client, that's the mother. Yeah, we spend a lot of emphasis with student retention, and we do things like, well, we know if a student hasn't made the class Monday and or Tuesday, statistically, they'll miss the entire week. Well, here's another question. When was the last time you spoke to a parent? You know, one of the ideas that we're flexing down in Florida is that we are reaching out to parents, you know, letting parents know that we're enjoying their support, letting the parents know what the child has to look forward to. Is the parent that if you don't have the proper connection with, they will fire you. You know, particularly as a student becomes an intermediate and a more advanced student, the parent ends up participating less. They drop their kids off, do the shopping, and come back and pick the kids up. You know, you kind of lose that connection. So one of the things you can do to not just increase retention, but deepen the connection you have with parents is let them know that they are a top of mind consideration. You know, reach out to them, send them a text, a short little video, a handwritten card. Let the parents know that you appreciate the support they're providing their student as well as what they're providing the academy. And this will change the terms of the relationship. People drop out of your membership once they come to the realization that things aren't getting better. If things aren't getting better, most people assume they must be getting worse. So our job is to develop a deep connection with the parent by letting them know they are a top of mind consideration. Let them know you are thinking of them. Let them know that you're available for them. And how do you do that? Constant communication. And do this tonight. Pick out a kid in your program where you know you hadn't spoken to the parent in quite some time and hold that kid hostage in a playful way. Like for you, I'm going to make some up. I got this kid named Timmy Lewis. I haven't seen Mrs. Lewis in months. She drops the kid off. She beeps the horn, calls the kid out. I'm going to tell little Timmy, Timmy, wait by the front door. When you see your mother, come and get me. We're going to go out together. There's something I want to share with her. Start connecting with parents and watch what happens. It becomes magical. But this idea that, well, they've been here for a while, you got to realize as soon as you say they've been here for a while, it implies that the relationship and its meaning is beginning to erode. You got to stay connected to the parents. That's my departing shot, sir.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to drop in here before we tap out here. I'm going to drop in here the link if you want to be a part of our Black Belt. For you guys that aren't already, if you want to be a part of our Black Belt group, here's our newest link with all the info. And boom, there you go. Check it out. And there's a video on there too, worth checking out. Even if you don't go any further than that, at least do that. But it was great to see all you guys on the call, and we'll see many more of you on the calls later this week. And in the meantime, go get them. Have a great day. Thank you.
All right, God bless. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.